The Hidden War, Louis Pasteur's battle against the invisible world. The night that changed science forever. It was the autumn of 1865, a chilly night in Paris. The lab was dimly lit by a flickering candle, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Louis Pasteur stood over a boiling flask, his eyes tired but sharp. The world knew him as a scientist, but few knew the terror he faced in that moment. A letter had arrived that morning, an anonymous note scrawled with trembling hands. "Cease your work, or you will face consequences beyond science." Pasteur was no stranger to danger, but this was different. The discoveries he was making, particularly around the invisible world of microbes, were too controversial for some. Yet, nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. A loud crash, the sound of glass breaking, and then darkness. Pasteur awoke hours later to find his lab destroyed and his research scattered. Someone was trying to stop him, but little did they know that this night would only ignite his determination to change the world forever. Chapter 1. Humble Beginnings. Louis Pasteur was born in a small village in Dole, France, in 1822. His parents, humble tanners, had high hopes for their son, though no one could have predicted the incredible path he would take. Young Louis was a curious child, always fascinated by the smallest details of the world around him. Whether it was the way light reflected off water or how food spoiled when left out too long. His early schooling was unremarkable, but a teacher noticed his sharp mind and encouraged him to pursue higher education. Though his early interests leaned toward art, science slowly began to captivate him. Age 20, Pasteur enrolled in the École Normale Supérieure in Paris, where he excelled in chemistry. It was there that he made his first real connection with the invisible forces that would later define his career. He began to investigate why certain crystals twisted light differently, seemingly trivial, but this was his first step into the unseen world. Chapter 2. The Battle Against Silk Death. In 1849, Pasteur's life took a drastic turn when he accepted a position at the University of Strasbourg. His research was gaining traction, and he began to study fermentation processes. However, it wasn't long before a crisis in France's silk industry brought him to a new challenge. Mysterious diseases were ravaging silkworms, threatening to collapse the entire industry. The cause was unknown, and many believed it to be a curse. Called upon to solve the mystery, Pasteur threw himself into the problem. Working day and night, he analyzed the sick worms and discovered tiny particles in their tissues, what we now know as microorganisms. It was the first glimpse of a hidden enemy that would occupy the rest of his life. The stakes were high, and Pasteur's success not only saved the silk industry, but also set the stage for his most important discoveries. Chapter 3. The Invisible World of Germs. With his success in saving the silk industry, Pasteur became fascinated with the invisible organisms that seemed to lurk everywhere. He began experimenting with food spoilage, realizing that these microorganisms were responsible for not only spoiling food, but also causing diseases in humans. His groundbreaking work on pasteurization, using heat to kill bacteria in food and drink, revolutionized industries across the world. Yet, his theories about germs were met with fierce opposition. Many in the medical field still clung to the belief in spontaneous generation, the idea that life could arise from non-living matter. Pasteur faced ridicule and resistance, but he remained undeterred. His experiments proved again and again that germs were the culprits behind disease, not mysterious forces. He had discovered the key to preventing many deadly illnesses. Chapter 4. Rabies, the Race Against Time. In 1885, Pasteur's career reached a dramatic climax. The deadly rabies virus was spreading across Europe, striking terror in the hearts of those who lived in fear of a painful death. There was no cure. Once symptoms appeared, death was inevitable. But Pasteur believed that he could create a vaccine using the principles he had developed through his study of microorganisms. One day, a young boy named Joseph Meister was bitten by a rabid dog. His mother brought him to Pasteur in desperation, begging him to save her son. Though Pasteur had never tested his vaccine on a human before, he knew this was the moment of truth. With the boy's life hanging in the balance, Pasteur administered the experimental vaccine. It was a race against time. Each day brought Joseph closer to death. Miraculously, the vaccine worked, and Joseph survived. Pasteur had done the impossible, and his rabies vaccine became one of the greatest medical breakthroughs of all time. Chapter 5. Triumph and Tragedy. As Pasteur's fame grew, so did his influence. He founded the Pasteur Institute, where scientists from around the world gathered to continue his work. His discoveries saved countless lives and cemented his place in history as one of the greatest scientists ever to live. Yet, despite his professional triumphs, Pasteur's personal life was marked by tragedy. He lost several children to diseases he would later help prevent, and a stroke left him partially paralyzed in his later years. Even so, Pasteur never stopped working. He believed in the power of science to improve humanity and devoted his final years to advancing his theories, mentoring young scientists, and pushing the boundaries of what was known about disease and prevention. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Pasteur. Louis Pasteur died in 1895, but his legacy lived on. The Pasteur Institute became a center for medical research, where discoveries about vaccines, viruses, and bacteria continued to unfold. Pasteur's work had proven that unseen microorganisms were the root cause of many of the world's deadliest diseases. His development of vaccines and pasteurization processes changed the world forever, saving millions of lives. But more than his scientific achievements, Pasteur left behind a legacy of perseverance. His belief in the power of science to improve the human condition remains a guiding principle for researchers and doctors alike. The mysteries of the invisible world were no longer hidden, thanks to a man who refused to let fear or failure stand in his way. Chapter 7. A New Dawn. As we enter the modern era, Pasteur's work continues to inspire innovation in medicine. The techniques he pioneered have led to the development of antibiotics, vaccines, and better sanitation practices. Today, the fight against new diseases, whether it's pandemics or antibiotic-resistant bacteria, still relies on the principles that Pasteur discovered. His spirit lives on in every lab, every vaccine, and every scientific breakthrough.